Good day, everyone, and welcome to this report presentation when Maximum Entertainment has published their books for the second quarter of 2023. Standing beside me is none other than CEO Christina Seelye. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How are you?
I'm great.
You'll be presenting, and after which I'll come back to ask a few questions. So without further ado, go ahead.
Great. Thank you. Today I'm here to talk a little bit about Maximum Entertainment and what we accomplished in Q2 of 2023. I'm going to talk a little bit about the different games that we launched and the business and the extremely great launches that we had in 2023. And then a little bit later, our brand new CFO, Deborah Bellangé, is going to join us to talk a little bit more about the financials. And then we'll delve into some questions. A little reminder about Maximum Entertainment and who we are. We are a global video game developer, publisher, and in some cases distributor around the world. We have our own intellectual property that we develop, and then we work with third-party companies to bring their games to the market, and we do that with a really solid global infrastructure for publishing. The structure, which has been really fine-tuned over the past year, is made up of studios and publishers. So we have 4 publishing labels now, Just for Games, Merge Games, Maximum Games, and Modus. And we are fine-tuning the focus of each one of those labels. Modus really works on AA level video games as well as some live service games. Maximum Games does global sub-publishing for the group. Merge is really high-end indie games, and Just for Games, we're focusing on family and casual. We also have studios all around the world, from the US, Brazil, Sweden, Hungary, and then earlier this year acquired the assets of a studio in Romania, which has been doing really great work developing content for the group to publish. So what we're accomplishing here at Maximum Entertainment is that we want to bring magic to the gamer and everyone, and we believe we're executing against that strategy. We already have some really great own IP that launched in Q2 that I'll talk more about a little bit later. And we really want to be the global leader in indie to AA video game creation and transmedia. Transmedia being what expands the universe of video games above and beyond just the normal video game platforms. But our strategic statement and what we've said that we're going to do and then what we're working as a group to execute against right now is to increase our owned IP to represent 30% of our revenue by the end of 2025. We're also expanding our transmedia reach to represent 20% of 2025 revenue. And last quarter, we said we announced that we were rebranding to Maximum Entertainment, and then this past quarter, it actually became official. So we are no longer Zordix, we are officially Maximum Entertainment, and our ticker symbol has changed to MaxEnt AB, M-A-X-E-N-T A-B, and that is official as of this quarter. So we're very excited to officially be on our road, on the road for Maximum Entertainment. With Zordix, just a quick reminder, the end of 2021, very small company, less than 100 employees, less than 10 games, less than 10 million second revenue. And today, we did over 1 billion revenue in 2022. We have over 230 employees today, and we have over 300 titles in the total catalog. And we've been working really hard on integrating the company to be one unified roadmap of games and to increase the own IP ownership, as I mentioned. So a little bit more detail about Q2. Just in Q2, we did 272.8 million second revenue at a gross margin of over 28%. The EBITDA came in at 22.7 million SEK and the margin at 8.3%. The important number that we want to talk about today is the 19% in own IP revenue, and that really comes from 2 key games, Smalland, Survive the Wilds, and Bramble, the Mountain King. Bramble, the Mountain King actually being developed here in Sweden, and both of these games had represented quite a bit of revenue in Q2 and really had phenomenal results and both critical and commercial success, which is what contributed to the own IP revenue of 19%. Quick note that doesn't mean it's 19% and growing forever. We do a lot of business with third party as well, so that percentage is going to change year over year, quarter over quarter, but the goal is to have a stable over 30% of revenue by the end of 2025, as we've stated. So as I mentioned, Bramble, Smalland, big news in Q2 2023. Bramble released in April. It is still holding an overwhelmingly positive rating on Steam. There's been 2.5 million hours of this game streamed online, and we're just really proud of the critical and commercial success of this game that was developed right here in Sweden. They are actively working on their next game right now, and there'll be more to come on what comes next from Moda Studios in Sweden in the quarters to come. Smalland Survive the Wilds has achieved a very positive rating on Steam, and it's still in early access, but it has been doing well beyond our expectations. We have released post Q2. We've released a significant update in July that has been doing really well, and so this game continues to exceed our expectations. The community is super excited about it, and we're excited to expand what we're doing with Smalland and driving towards the 1.0 release coming out of early access. Some other exciting things that happened this quarter is that we had an annual general meeting, and we significantly changed a couple things within the organization, one being the new company name. We also added some new board members. We took care of some kind of administrative and corporate things that were needed for proper governance of the company. And so we're really excited to get the foundation of the company really strong and setting ourselves up for success moving forward. Also, we added a new member to the executive team, our new group CFO, Deborah Bellangé, who will be joining me in a few minutes, and Thierry Bonnefoy, who was acting CFO, has moved over to the role of COO. We talked a little bit about Bramble, and we're going to show a quick little video to show you some of the accolades that we received on this game, but it received several significant award nominations and is included in Xbox Game Pass. And as I mentioned, 2.5 million hours of this game streamed online. So we're super excited about the success, and we're very excited about the next game that this really talented team is going to be working on. So more to come on that in the future quarters. So at this point, I'm going to bring on Deborah Bellangé, who is our group CFO, who just joined us. So she's going to take over and talk a little bit about the financials.
So yeah, nothing really surprising. Christina has really already explained a lot of what happened in Q2. We have net revenues for the quarter of $273 million. That brings us to $456 million year to date for the first half of the year. 14% of that 456, which is comparable to prior year, is coming from owned IP, which is really the great story and really demonstrates the importance of the strategy that Christina has put into place. Because that 456 that we're able to deliver in the first half of the year comes despite some really significant headwinds on our sub-publishing business. We have a lot of titles that moved out of the quarter into later quarters or even into later fiscal years. We also have some titles, sadly, that underperformed against what we were expecting, some major titles in Q2 that launched in the sub-publishing business that sadly did not perform as well as we thought they would. We were able to compensate that with obviously the success of our own IP, but also with some catalog sales. Those catalog sales come with margins that are lower than what we would have liked, so that brings us to a gross margin at the end of the quarter of 28.3%. 28.5 for the half year. That's down about a point versus the gross margin from last year. And we see that tendency going down to the EBITDA with 8.2% for the quarter versus 9.2% for last year. Our balance sheet is just a reflection of what we've just said. We continue to invest in games in our future. So we have close to 50 million SEK of investments over the quarter in new games. That brings total investments in games at the end of the quarter to 266 million. Our assets are also made up of our goodwill for the cost of the structure that we've put together, and that's going to be delivering on this success. Working capital is back to pretty much the same levels as last year. The consumption of working capital from Q1 due to some seasonality has been compensated and released in Q2. That's it for the numbers.
Great. So just some recap on the key takeaways that we hope that you hear from this presentation, and some things we'd like you to remember about Maximum Entertainment is we are executing against the stated strategy of the company, which is to grow our own IP, as well as increase our revenue and create a really stable foundation for the company to grow over the next over the coming years. And so Smalland, Survive the Wilds, Bramble, The Mountain King really reinforces the own IP strategy. We're thrilled with both the critical and commercial success of both of those games. We also are very excited about the future launches and the continued optimization of the structure. We know that it's been a difficult year, especially this year for the video game industry, and you can see around with our competitors, they're doing a lot of optimization of the structure, and we are doing the same. As basically a brand new company that has existed over the past 18 months, we've been doing a lot of work on integration, making sure that we have the proper, most efficient structure for growth moving forward. Big change this year was the increase of management and the capital that we have within the company. CEO and management, myself and the rest of management, holds about 36.5% of the total shares. And we're very committed to the company. We re-upped this past quarter significantly. And so we're, not just me, but the rest of the executive management team is very committed to the future success. And so, and very excited to have Deborah join us and bring all of her expertise, not only in the industry, but also in entertainment industry, non-video games as well, bring that experience to bear for Maximum Entertainment as we continue our growth story. So now I'm open for some questions.
I'll actually begin with Deborah. I'm curious about your background before joining Maximum Entertainment.
Oh, I have about over 25 years experience in media and entertainment. So my career started after working at KPMG. I spent 10 years working at Disney in their consumer products division. So I got a lot of experience here in Europe working on IP rights, licensing, legal structures, business models, everything you need to kind of understand the mechanics of what operates in the video game industry as in other industries that are around the IP universe. And then aside from some other smaller experiences in small businesses, I spent another 10 years at Focus Home Interactive, which is now Focus Entertainment, working as their CFO, bringing them their IPO in 2015 and helping grow that company. And I'm really excited to be here at Maximum because we are going to have another growth story, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Indeed, and they're also pushing for their own IPs as well. Are you looking forward to working with that?
Working with our own IPs, yes, definitely. I mean, as I said in the presentation, I'm committed to that strategy. I think we've already seen in Q2, just in Q2, how important that strategy is going to be going forward, and I think it's the right one, and I'm very excited to be part of it.
Deborah and I met because Maximum Games and Focus were partners, and so we worked together, you know, as colleagues in that relationship, and so. Just remember who you're working with as partners and customers and vendors, because you know you might end up working together in the same company in the future.
Indeed, but let's talk a little bit about your own IPs then, because there's been a full quarter now with the release of Smalland, and it has had plenty of hot fixes. You talked a little bit about content update, and I believe you were referring to Forbidden Monuments. Could you tell us more about it?
Yeah, so Smalland outperformed our expectations in early access for sure. And it was really important to us to make sure that we had a lot of content to provide the community. And so immediately after that launch, we actually reallocated development resources into doing more content for Smalland. We already had a full plan of content, but we kind of doubled down based on the success and the community excitement around Smalland. And so with, it was very good timing on the launch of the new content in July, and we were able to see a lot more interest from the community. We did it in combination with the Steam sale, and we were able to have 3 times the peak players that we had prior to to the content update. So we're really getting players in the community excited about the new content. And with the new team working on the development, we have a lot more content to come as we're driving for the 1.0 launch.
Some may think that launching early access may be slightly risky, but you seem happy with how it has turned out. And you even write in the report that you've learned the value of the model and that you will explore ways to use all of Steam's functionality. Could you please elaborate?
Yeah, it was really interesting. You're right that it is a risky move to do early access in some cases, because you have to have a really solid foundational product that people can experience in order to learn anything from it. If you throw it out there as a beta, in many cases, it's not ready, you're not getting the information you need, you're not able to make the changes that you need to make in order to drive to a successful 1.0. But we waited until we had a really strong foundational product in order to go into early access. And what we are learning through that is game balancing and cadence of content and what the community is responding to and what they're not. And all of those things you can do in an early access environment, learning all of that stuff, tweaking the cadence of the content, tweaking based on community feedback, the content that they like, and then use that before you do a full court press on your 1.0. Or, in our case, we're also really strong on console, and so we want a cross-platform game. And so all of those learnings that we have in early access, we can use prior to launching it across all platforms.
Indeed. But what of games that isn't your own IP? Would you be open to publish them as early access as well?
Yeah, we've actually already done that. We did that with Super Animal Royale as Maximum Games prior to the transaction in our world as Maximum Entertainment. Super Animal Royale is a third-party live service game that we started working with them during early access period, and then figured out what we were going to do, lots of different testing in order to drive to 1.0, in order to move to console. And now that is a very successful, I think that we'll talk about it more in the next quarter's report, but we just launched season 8, and we actually just hit 10 million players on Super Animal Royale. So yes, we're very interested in continuing to use early access where it makes sense. It's not for every game. It's really for games where you need to do live service work, or you need to figure out cadence of content, or you need balancing within the game to make sure it's competitive and fun.
But wouldn't it also be a benefit to development also to get feedback from the player base?
Absolutely. Only if the game is far enough along so it makes sense for that feedback to be quality. I think that we do a lot of play tests both on our own IP side and on the third-party publishing to make sure we're getting a lot of feedback from players prior to even going into early access. Early access gives you a very large swath of feedback, though.
We'll return focus a little bit on the business side.
Yeah.
You end the CEO letter with explaining that management now holds 36.5% of the capital, and this has been purchases supported by institutional investors. But I'm curious if you could elaborate a little bit on how these purchases were made. Is it anything that affects cash flow?
Not really. Most of the increase in capital came from acquiring existing shares. So we took out some existing investors who were interested in selling their shares. We brought in new investors who believe in the strategy and are long-term holds. And then some of it was just our own, in my case, my own capital that I invested into the company.
You also became Maximum Entertainment finally at the annual general meeting.
Yes.
But also 3 new board members. Tell us about them.
Yes. We we took our time on adding the board members. If you last year, in kind of our foundational year of integration and things like that, we really wanted to keep the team small and make sure that we had our feet under us before we added new board members. And so that's what we did. And at this annual general meeting, we added 3. One of them is me. So I was already part of the process before that, but we added 2 additional independents, which we're really excited about, that are bringing different expertise to bear as part of the board. So we have Carla Martin, who it comes to us as leads the luxury consumer practice at Deloitte, and so she has a lot of global consumer experience, consumer marketing, and really video games are both technology, entertainment, and a consumer good, and so we're really excited to have Carla join us. We also have Petter Hestedt, who is joining us this year, who has Swedish, and he has financial experience that, and specifically Swedish financial experience that we're excited to have on the board.
Let's move forward to the present then.
Yeah.
We are currently in Q3, and you talk a little bit about your pipeline for Q3 in the report. One of the games has released, and it's Double Dragon Gaiden, released towards the end of July. Did the launch go as expected?
It really did. People love the Double Dragon franchise, and so we were really excited to give that fan base something new to play. There were many critics that said it's the best that has been released in the Double Dragon franchise, so go check out those reviews yourself if you'd like to see the accolades on the critical result of that game. But we're really excited with the result of Double Dragon, and it has already it has over 2,000 hours of Twitch streaming and just in the past couple weeks on that game. Our launch trailer on our own organic channels were about 8 times the normal views, and so we're really excited about Double Dragon, and it's really fun. All of the TikToks they've been doing with Double Dragon are pretty hilarious and fun too.
So other titles that are coming out in Q3 are Paleo Pines and Hammerwatch 2. Both of these games had demos during Steam's Next Fest, and you write in the report that it made the top 20 demos during the 2-week event. But how many participated?
So over 100 demos were part of Steam's Next Fest, and Hammerwatch was in the top 10, Paleo was like in the top 20, I think number 16, something like that, and so both of those did really well, and we love the idea of a demo. We think it's a great way to get a community excited about the game that's coming. It's a great way to also get some feedback on a demo of the game prior to its launch. So we love that. We're going to keep doing that, and so for both Paleo Pines and for Hammer, and it's not just Hammerwatch 2, by the way. It's Hammerwatch 2 is the brand new game, but we also, in conjunction with that, did a full remaster of Hammerwatch 1, and you are going to be able to buy it in a bundle. You can buy the remastered version separately, and Hammerwatch is going to have a full wide release, and so later in the year you're going to be able to experience it on console as well.
Christina and Deborah, thank you very much for the presentation and answering my questions.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.